Because I'm a every day. Show up for me. Oh, hallelujah. Yeah, hallelujah. Yeah, hallelujah. Show up for me. Hallelujah. Yahweh. Yahweh, because I'm a situation, show up for me, Baba. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a show up for me. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a situation, show up for me, Baba. Yahweh, Yahweh, show up for me, yeah. Show up for me, Lord. Yeah. Show up for me. Destroy my enemies. Destroy every power. Jesus' name. Destroy every altar. Oh, Father, even your sister. Show up for me, Lord. Even the president. Show up for me. Destroy my destroyer. Yeah, Jesus. Destroy every evil power. Yahweh. Yahweh, because I'm a situation, show up for me, Baba. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a show up for me. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a situation, show up for me, Baba. Yahweh, Yahweh, show up for me. Give me power, Jesus, Jesus, on my enemy. Every evil altar be destroyed in the name of Jesus. Hey, mighty Mary battle, wherever you are, consume them by fire, bring them to judgment. Hey, Baba, oh Baba, hey Baba, destroy my enemies. Hey Baba, hey Baba, oh Baba, destroy my enemies. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a situation, show up for me, Baba. Yahweh, Yahweh, because I'm a show up for me, yeah. Show up for me, Lord. Yeah. Show up for me. Destroy my enemies. Destroy every power. Jesus' name. Destroy every altar. Oh, Father, even your Africa. Show up for me, Lord. Even the president. Show up for me. Destroy my destroyer. Yeah, Jesus, destroy every evil power.
Okay, good evening, folks. Welcome to the last and final segment of today's program. I hope we're going to be having our panelists, contributor right here to the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv as usual to take on national issues. So I want to welcome our viewers, Nehemiah, John, our prompt and follower and listener, Marie, Good evening and welcome, MSC Mamalud. And let's see here, let's try and give some recognition here. Amando Stewart, Allison, Mami, and all of you beautiful folks, welcome. Aloysius, you are no exceptions, and Mr. James Tano. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on your location. Welcome to this broadcast. Very shortly, my team going to be joining me here, and we're going to be looking at a few things happening inside Liberia and other parts. Per Josh, I'm not sure. Let me see here. Please let me know if the audio is okay, if there's no feedback, stuff like that. Per Josh, your image is not still visible, so I guess you got to go off and come back. Let me just take you off and come back here. As usual, we like to take the rendezvous or a little quick review of some of the news making headlines across the globe and things that are happening, of course, across the world. To bring you up to speed, we have to be our brother's keeper so that we can know exactly what's going on. Welcome. This is Lpr-Tv special. We're going to have I mix up veggies, sort of conversation here this evening on some of the things that are happening in Liberia. But let us just recap what we did this afternoon. I'm Afonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. Okay, well, the Middle East is still in flame, according to a major news outlet. As you know, the state of Israel and Palestine in the Gaza and Jerusalem is all in the flame. Latest reports say the death toll is on the rise in Gaza. So we hope and pray that this comes to an end. The Hamas leader vowed that the escalation is expected to go over the roof. One of Africa's longest-serving president is in his sixth term. Museveni of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, was inducted into office. Sixth term. Well, he pledged and vowed to make Uganda a good state. Even though he been there, why? Kenya suspends a Somalia flight barely the last few days after diplomatic ties with the country. And of course, the governor of Oman State in Nigeria has suspended commissioners following the executive meeting with the executive council of the state. The governor took the decisions. Grand Crew County Senator Batewa has attributed the closures of major Thai businesses, including supermarkets in Liberia, due to the incompetence of the Liberia Liberia Electricity Corporation. He fronts on LEC lack of inability to provide electricity in the country is hampering the business of that entity. Liberia Public Radio or News is reporting two were flogged for allegedly or suspected of being gay outside of Monrovia in the city of Painesville. The two individuals are currently being taking medical treatment in Monrovia. And of course, you know, when you have folks who's supposed to be in the house, or who's supposed to be the elders, who's supposed to be the people to give wisdom, and they are acting like a tatlords, then of course, maybe somebody else got to come and intervene. So the long ugliness and bloodbath, political bloodbath between Senator Milton T.J. of Sando County and that of Representative Matthew Zaza, formerly from the Finance Ministry to Republic of Liberia during Samuel Doe. President George Weah said this code, the deal is sealed. he has reached a settlement and the two men vowed to work together. Can you imagine? One is member of the House of Representatives and the other one is in the upper house. They don't talk, yet they represent the people of Sando County, and that the president have got to intervene. What a troublesome war we're in. Let's get a ball rolling. The liberal progressive, after being on the run, he's back. Let's see how you're going to sound like this evening. Oh my goodness. Let's get a ball rolling. Okay, I'm Alfonso Z, and so the building you see behind here, I'm pretty close to 33 to 40 some more $1 million being invested by taxpayers in Liberia, and yet no result. Okay, from Totan to Monrovia, from Monrovia, he got a flight, throw him to Belgium. Belgium sent him to Germany. Germany brought him back to some part in Europe. He landed in the ocean state of Rhode Island. What happens? What don't happen? The story is yet to be untold. He repatriated to the state of California, the most liberal state. And here we are, right here at Liberia Public Radio. We have to deal with it, accept it as it is. Welcome, the liberal progressive, talk show host, conversation with Samson Toe, engineer. He wants to go, but they are not calling him. He has gone to conduct classes. Still, he waiting for Liberty Party. He said, well, since CDC didn't call me and Helen Johnson said he did not call me, perhaps Liberty Party. But Liberty Party now is, I'm not sure what is going on. Interestingly, his membership only valid in USA. So it means the people in Liberia, they don't even know him. So there is no guarantee that the Liberal will be accommodated. Well, he's joining me now, entering backstage. And of course, no nonsense, Amos Joy from Atlanta, Georgia. They are all here. Make up the best political team, analysts, and contributor right here at Liberia Public Radio. Folks, welcome. Let's keep the ball rolling. Ooh. Okay, these are the guys for the evening. So, welcome, the liberal progressive. I will try to be a little bit nice here after 2 weeks. No excuse, nothing. And you're back. And you think it's funny. And I see you smiling. And you think you have done yourself a good favor. Madam Eleanor Bartlett, welcome from the state of Delaware. Okay, gentlemen, let's get the ball rolling. Deliberate, welcome, Mr. George. Welcome to today's talking point. How is the evening?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. So. Good evening, Mr. George. We're still here. The voice is still strong. We've been away for quite a while. And basically,
there's a feedback
with the work. And they were counting on us when they asked us to do this project up north. We took on this project, knowing our abilities. We decided to take on this project. It's almost like $100 million project, bridge, complete bridge demolition, bridge replacement, and design. I was responsible for it.
There's a feedback somewhere.
Yeah, we're hearing him. Probably is it coming from you, Pa George? I think it's good from my end. Mr. Toh, go ahead. Let's see.
And so we were asked to lead a group of designer, roadway designer, to do part of the role that is going to be affected by this new bridge. And up north, if you live in California, the northern part of California, they're very stringent when it comes to environmental issues. And so we were heavily,
you are dealing with those case again?
Excuse me?
I said you were providing safety for case mean that thing was so nice in palm butter.
Yes. That was one of the main issues. In fact, we just had a meeting about that again. But anyhow, we being guided by the environmental sensitive production, make sure that the environmental issues are certified by the people in the north. And so we were heavily involved. We did our work, and we just what they call RTL, ready to list the project last week. So I was just trying to put on some closing point here and there, make sure that everything is done. And like I said, it's almost $100 million project. So we want to make sure all of the materials that are used are being based on spec, and they're in agreement with my calculations and everything else. So I'm very, very pleased that this guy from Town, he was able to deliver pretty much close to $100 million project that I was responsible for the roadway design.
So what was the cost? How much you get to sign? What was the cost? You did it in Liberia? And then Liberian way, if something took place, what was the cost, the chief? Anything for us?
No, you get paid. If you work, you get paid, and we get paid handsomely here in California. Engineers get paid handsomely, so there's no question asked. I'm happy with what I'm making, and I love this job. I love design, and so I really truly enjoy my job, and so I got involved, knowing fully well that on a very serious note, I was asked by the big wig from the north, because I did the bridge job for them some 10 years ago. And so they were very pleased with the result. And so they asked me again to get involved, because this project that I just delivered last week been on the books since 2007. There was all the engineers, many engineers I tried, they were unable to deliver. And so this guy from Town got involved, and I'm sure the people are watching. And but the sad thing is, not one Liberian that I would say will go up and actually see this product. So that's very sad. The fact that I put so much time into the design, and not one of my people, let alone from Total, will be able to see this.
Oh my goodness!
So that's very sad.
Here we go again.
You're going to provide transportation for these people?
The what now?
Are you going to provide transportation?
Oh, the Liberians?
Yeah.
Well, if there's any Liberian coming from traveling on Route 101 from Oregon.
No, that's not a question. You are about, you see, that's the only problem. Nothing is guaranteed doing business with you. Nothing ends on a good footing. You started, we all paying attention now. You now come here with this saying, okay.
I'm just saying.
I am about to introduce someone special. Before you went off here, where you spread out this sort of conspiracy theory within the Trump world, like McCarthy and his folks. He ran away. The professor is no longer here. I'm here. The professor is not here. Now you ask me today whether the professor are going to be showing up. And what did I tell you? He's not coming. I fool you. Welcome. The professor, the CEO of Gideon Polytechnic Schools in Liberia, Professor Asese Lagbozawo. Now, the man from Total can't leave right now. He's been caught on the way.
No, I'm ready. Professor, welcome. I've been away for a while, as I was just explaining. I had to take on this $100 million project, and I just delivered that project last week, and so I'm free again. For a while there, it was very much intensive work that was involved, and let me just explain the process a little bit, Mr. Sir, if you don't mind. I'll do it on Friday, but just for the listener audience, we're building a new bridge. So to remove the old bridge, we have to have a detour bridge. And so to build a detour bridge that is not going to be permanent, you want to put in a scaffolding system that will not be permanent also. So all of those, and as they come out to the abutment, other kinds of fill, I have to come up with the quantity of dirt that's going to fill. Mr. So hold on, please. So I have to get. I was very much
himself to the sedition to see whether he can be accommodated, because right now we still have.
No, I don't want to work for CDC. I don't want to be bothered with CDC.
So, is he paying for that time or that free air time?
I don't even know why he advertising.
No, I said I don't want to be part of the CDC. Well, let's forget about the project. I will deal with the project come Friday. Yeah. This is what I'm like. Folks, if you're listening, this is the Liberal Progressive. I am here again tonight. Right. I shall come to wait to these three conservatives that you're looking at. I am the liberal among them. But believe me, they're not going to dislodge me. So if they think they're coming here again tonight to get out on the liberal, it's not going to happen. Watch the show.
Okay, folks, let's get an evening going. Folks, in Radio Land, hopefully we're going to create a forum to have a participation. Professor LCC Labozalo is the founder of two schools in Liberia, heavily involved in community initiative. Professor is a senior contributor right here. Welcome. Amos George, host of Samson Bloku Brown Toll, host conversation with Samson Toll. Folks, we get a couple of things I want to do a run through here this evening. Welcome. There was something and nobody is willing to have this sort of conversation. I don't know whether you had a chance to discuss it, but I intend for us to recap it on Saturday again. There was a news from the African Star news outlet, investigative reporting. The Liberian political parties groups are violating U.S. laws. The proliferations of these organizations, there's an act responsible. You have to register to be a lobbyist. Unfortunately, the political party, Samson Toll Liberty Party, Professor Asese Labort, the ruling CDC party, and all other parties except one group from the ANC, I gone through that. We're going to come to all of those. And we are hearing there's a potential violation here because when it is proven, because with their own search, none of these people to register. All these organizations, people are raising funny money, illegal, because as long as you are in a foreign land,
dark money.
Yeah. And you do that, you get to you did not register. We saw what happened with Rudy Giuliani now with the Ukraine and all of that. You potentially get into trouble. And the inability, and I think we need to start this conversation now. We always say the election commission is not doing that, the election commission is not doing that, but these are elected officials, political party, institutions that are aware of these laws on the book in Liberia. Yet they deliberately, on purpose, because of their political ambitions or political purposes, they violate these laws and they turn the wheel around to say the law is not being enforced. We reach out to now the new chair on the House Committee on Elections, Matthew Zaza of Santa County. We are hoping we're going to have a time. But if and only if, based on the information that we are hearing, if this is true, then potential trouble problem is in the making. Gentlemen, let's start with it. Samson, why your Liberty Party is not, why you guys didn't register as a lobbyist? You're collecting money, Liberians, people, we cannot establish the identities of people that are given fund. And I'm quite sure you were in the forefront of that. Why?
Mr. So, the premise of your question is so flawed that I can drive a school bus through it. It has nothing to stand on. And first of all, if Liberty Party and any other political party in Liberia are raising funds here in the United States, there are rules and regulations here in the United States. And if these people are found to be against or violating the rule, they have laws here in the country, and they will go and bring these things on. And these people have not even been questioned. They have not been sanctioned. These are just rumor mills that perhaps you're bringing on the Liberty Party. Liberty Party is a highly responsible party. Liberty Party, people who have been in Liberty Party and people who are in Liberty Party, they are much more responsible, much more capable of handling themselves than many of these fly-by-night political parties you have have in Liberia. So let me just tell you this, why I'm not here speaking on behalf of Liberty Party, but I do know that Liberty Party, even Liberty Party USA, they have capable people and they understand the law. So for you to say here that these people have been violating the rule without any kinds of context when it comes to the American law, then this is something that I strongly disagree on, Mr. So.
All right, and let me just be crystal clear. I was very vehement in my analysis. I say, if the investigations uncovered by the African Star newspaper, and I can go through here, this information is on the official website of the State Department. So it is a potential problem. Mr. George.
Global Tool, thank you. You have been away for some time. And I will kindly ask you to take a picture of the project you have done, to put it up there so at least someone can make reference to see a brilliant Liberian doing a wonderful job in Liberia. Having said that, you get a year on top of your head.
There you go.
Talking about responsible people, intelligent people. When it comes to criminality, you don't consider those things. What Mr. Toh is saying to you, that is on his United States State Department website. You can dispute it. It's there. Now, here's the thing. All the groups name being mentioned, this is how some of are talking about accountability in Liberia. People know these laws, but they tend to invade the laws because nobody is checking on them. These money these people have been collecting, how many taxes they pay to the US government and how much taxes they pay to the Liberian government. They are not officially registered, so they don't pay any taxes here in Liberia. These are money they use to undermine the electoral process in Liberia in many forms and shape. People get the money, then they go out there, the calling pool or ATM machine. Nobody knows where the money coming from. So these are serious questions we should be asking the people that run these institutions. How come they have been collecting such a money and it's not an entity registered in the United States? And it's not even registered in Liberia. But they raise the fund to go to run political institution, which has the potential to undermine the democracy of Liberia, because money is the key to everything in every country. So people use the dark money to do all kinds of debt in Liberia in politics. So if this issue is being raised, I think there's a way we should hold these people and call these people to answer to it, why it's been happening like this and why they did it. So this is a serious question for your party, the ruling party, and the other party, the Tea Party mentioned, why they decide to go down this route. If the people in the ruling party say they believe in accountability and transparency, why they have been going down this route? These are questions these people need to answer, and this is what some of us continue to say. It is not time that we go after these people. We should now wait for the election to come, because money flowing into the country, we don't know how it comes, we don't know the contributors, and we don't know what these people get in return as contributors to these various political parties. So it means that money people are raising is illegal. So we must ask the institution to explain to the Liberian people how they have been raising this money and why they have been invading taxes. Because definitely, the way the money is raised, nobody pays taxes. So it means that the tax invasion, because there's no proper organization that legally responsible that the U.S. government can ask at the end of the year to make an account what was collected and what was intended for. They don't know. Their money will go and fall in different people hand to do different things. So this is the question now: will you hold these institutions so responsible? Let the institution come and explain to us why they decided to do what they did or what they're doing.
Before I bring in Professor Zawlo in, look, the liberal Samson told can scream until water runs through his eyes. I don't care. These are the people, they will always give justifications. They will always try to build that wall in terms of protecting their political leaders or politicians. But I'll bring in Professor True here. Let me do a quick True here on some of what African style they have gathered here. For example, in 1991, the Deputy Commissioners of Maritime Affairs of Liberia hired International Registries Incorporated for the disseminations of pamphlets and publications, ship owners, blah, 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 blah. The President Helen Johnson Sirleaf government signed a lobbying agreement in December 2005 with a group called BKS Associate to provide strategic guidance and support during the transitional period during the public and media relationship. In March 2016, President Sirleaf hired the same firm for 1 month, US $10,000 to support the government of Liberia economic development needs before the US administrations and Congress and private sectors. In 2016, leader of the opposition Alternative Congress, ANC, Alexander Coleman, hired a U.S. lawyer, Cook Robins, for $90,000 to provide legal and policy advice and outreach, including through meetings with U.S. government officials and non-governmental type representatives in order to explain the vision. So you see here, and we're going to go back here. Let me bring you. So here, you can see so far finding yourself on the right part. But I'm not saying here this is the entire bottom line and the conclusive aspect of it. So, Professor, let me bring you in here. You're one of those who have defended and still defend this government here. There are tons of political party, organization, friends of this, friends of that. All of their names they are mentioned here. And I'm surprised that the ruling establishment, the Congress for Democratic Change, CDC, is also, according to this report, if it is validated, does not have, they didn't register to any lobbyists, but yet they are doing stuff and getting money.
Yeah, they got a congressman recently. They hired this guy, Dutch or somebody, Nangbe just spoke about the other day, Eugene Nangbe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
is it a big deal? Is it a big deal?
Well, if you talk about the CDC USA, the CDC USA is registered.
Is the chief custodian the CDC USA registered? We don't see the name yet.
As far as well, you saying that they register as a lobbyist? No, they're not registered as a lobbyist. They're registered to do business in America.
Come on, what sort of business? What are you selling? What are the commodity you're selling here?
I think we submitted documentation. We applied to operate as a corporation, and we're granted the rights to operate as a corporation.
Corporation as what? Political corporation, political entity, or non-for-profit entity?
I don't know. I will leave that with the authorities to decide whether we violated any rules. But we did apply. That's the only way we could open a bank account in the CDC USA name, and so we were legitimate. We transacted business at CDC USA. I was shocked when our own ULA
name is all there. Friends of Darrell Dillon to Madat. The list goes on. So it seems to me here, we're going to put this here a little bit. Let's have a sort of overview conversation here. So, Professor, the liberal progressive, these people are acting like they are not monitoring, they are not paying attention to what we are doing. Friends of this, friends of that. Omen Boyka here, the guy who bought a boat. I don't know how many thousand for that boat. We yet to know. Yeah, it's like we feel that these people are not paying attention to what we are doing, but it's like they are monitoring every bit and piece of a talking point or what is going on the social media. That seems to be the case for this sort of thing to emerge from the State Department.
Mr. So, let me just put it out again quickly. This story is speculative. And I'm not about ready to address anything that they come out to be with this kinds of intense speculations and what have you. However, Liberians from the days of EULA that I know of, Liberians have always been, these organizations are duly registered. Even in their own constitution, they are registered in their constitution. Even the Boston District Association, duly registered in their constitution, they list the address of these organizations. And they also say in many of these constitutions of the organization,
non-political parties.
Exactly. And they stated clearly that they're also putting themselves together as a group from Liberia who has a will, and they must come together for the betterment of their fellow Liberians. So how else do you want these people to support their brothers and sisters back home if they are not together? It's speculative. They got nothing. State Department or no State Department, they got nothing on us.
Yeah, look, I think what you are talking about, Mr. So, and what the African Star paper wrote was more of what you talk. I think I saw you posted, yeah, about the foreign agents. You have to register as a foreign agent. These organizations are not foreign agents. So what the African Star want to do is to define what a foreign agent is, and then see whether the story matches what are the definition of a foreign agent and the work that these different groups are doing. Constitute work as a foreign agent. Look, if there's any violation, that violation has to be concerning more in Monrovia than here. I don't see where anybody's violating any law yet. It's in Liberia, I think that's a law. There might be a potential for some violation of law.
Professor, are you saying there's no liability here? This is if the money is being raised here, there's no liability in that context. If they are raising
Mr. Professor, I don't mean to interrupt. Mr. So, most Liberian organizations have also most likely have their 501c3 status. So you cannot get these, you cannot obtain these status if the federal government think that you are in violation of a specific rule. Your status will be rejected, will be revoked. Now, how else do you expect Liberian organization to help their brothers and sisters back home? It's clearly stated in many of these Liberian organization constitution why they're coming together to form themselves as a group. And most of it, in the threads of all these constitutions, is the world, the youth, the world. We come together because we want to help our brothers and sisters back home.
I understand there are tons of organizations, including our own organizations, community organizations. But what's about that? These political institutions, their supporters, their fans, tons of dollars, countless. We don't know who the donors are, whether they are even eligible to contribute to these people campaign. Isn't it fair to also make reference to questions the legality as to whether these people are in compliance with the law?
Mr. So, questioning the legality and actually proving there's two different things. For me, speculative. Let them keep their speculation on the side.
Mr. So, the story, I haven't read the story. This morning, I saw another story, and I called my friend and brother Kaiji Uled. I didn't get him. I will call him again. Because I saw another story, which I think border on sedition and treason. And people got to be very careful how you write about governments. You don't want to gain publicity, so you sensationalize headlines that has a propensity to undermine the efforts of government. And so I called him this morning to speak to him on another story.
Do you see that article being more or less directed at government or what?
So I didn't read the article, but I'm just saying I called him to speak on another article. And this other article you talk about.
But why would you make reference to a government, Professor?
The reason why I'm saying that, I think the article you speak, the one you just spoke about, I think I agree with Mr. So, it's speculative, and I think it's a poor work of journalism. I tell you this thing, I don't think they have the facts correct. Here's the thing. I have two 501c3 organizations registered, and then I've assisted several other organizations to have the 501c3. Just like Mr. Toole said, look, when I developed the document for my first 501c3, when I indicated the word Liberia in it, immediately they sent to me for clarification. So it's not that the people don't do their homework; they do homework, and they have found that these organizations are in full compliance of the laws of the United States. So when I was told that, well, you have this corporation that's going to be involved in Liberia, and what are you? So they asked me a specific question. so that I didn't violate, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. So it's a totally different thing. Yeah, to be a foreign agent as a
Professor, let me just speak about to disabuse my brother in Providence, this conservative in Providence. Let me just disabuse him a little bit. I also want you to understand, I am member of Liberty Party USA. However, among our group, specifically among our group, we have engineers, we have medical doctors, we have lawyers among our group. We're not just Johnny come lately or Johnny just coming. So these people are versed in these kinds of situations. In fact, many of the people that organize these organizations, they seek the help of lawyers, Liberian lawyers who practice law in this country. So please spare me the speculative. Please, I don't want to use it. But let's move on.
What does this have to do with, before Pat George come in? What does it have to do with having lawyer, nexus, and doctor?
Well, because if you have a lawyer in an organization like Liberty Party, if you have a lawyer in an organization such as Liberty Party, I don't believe these people that practice law in here in the United States will be a part of an organization. Be in violation of a specific rule in this country, because that also will jeopardize their living standard in the United States. And so they will not have set by for you, their organization, to go and violate the rules of this country. I don't believe that.
Okay, you are building an exception. I don't think that we are not getting anything out of you. It is you are building office to satisfy your own curiosity and to build your case. I don't think. I'd expect you. This is what is being put out. So we expect some sort of definitive answer, because
I don't want to sit here to say that I'm speaking on behalf of Liberty Party. I don't want to do that. I'm saying what I know. As a member of Liberty Party, in fact, at one time, Mr. So, I used to serve in the leadership position, in a leadership capacity in Liberty Party USA. I was not one of the members of the leadership group here.
So let me ask you that before Amos George comes in. The USA Liberty Party, for example, monies that are raised here. Is this government aware that such remittances of the finances going for a political institution?
Because I'll give you an example. When Honorable Phyllis Swart was president of Liberty Party USA during the heyday of the Ebola, Mr. Swart was, in fact, he was invited here on Liberian Public Radio. Mr. Swart was able to put together a group that includes CDC USA, CDC, the Health Department of the United States, brought somebody from there to speak to Liberians on the Ebola issue. They were able to raise funds to help people in Nigeria. So
I don't usually come in before Mr. Johnson. We don't usually do the air to respond to our viewers and follower have the right to do that. But having a 501c3, it does not give you the license to raise money and say you're going to do it any kind of way. There is a status of limitation when you are a 501c3, because first of all, your constitution will specify that you are for non-for-profit. We are talking about organizations or group that are supporting political institutions, or most likely like an agent of politicians. Mr. George, go ahead before we shift gear.
I think we're trying to mix some things up here. 501c.
That's far different. That's a different thing.
Because you will state your goal, your objective, what the function of that and what they want to do. You state it to the Fed. That is quite different. What we are talking about is people collecting money for political fundraising and sending to Liberia. Is that money reported to the Treasury Department? Those are the questions now. Mr. Toll, you can bring your legal person to advise on this issue. If you sit here and raise money, $40,000, send it to Liberia to sponsor a political institution, is that money being reported to the IRS? The Fed, did you pay taxes on that money? And what is the law in Liberia? It states that when you raise the money outside of Liberia, you should report it to the Election Commission. So, are the institutions that we in question are doing it? if they're doing it, then they will have to show the State Department the document, the legal document that they registered to raise the money on behalf of the individual or institution in Liberia.
So, did the State Department raise this concern?
The state,
that's where the report coming from.
Where's the report coming from? What does the report say? It says the State Department lists these organizations to be violating its law.
Well, that's why potential investigation is on.
No. So let's be very careful about that. Is that what that article is saying? Did it say that?
Basically, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line, because when you see these sort of concerns are expressed, then it means there's a lie there.
No, here's the problem. You see, the problem with Liberia, look, let me tell you something. Liberians can run with rumors and lies as if they are true, without checking the fact. I bet not one single person of African Star spoke with anybody in the State Department.
How can you say that, Professor?
Because I know. Because these are some of the things that I know I have engaged in, I have passed around, I'm associated with, and I know I can talk, and I know what they are saying. They're going to tell me that's a lie. Recently, I had to investigate some issues that was, being permeating all over the world about something about Liberia. And I personally went in, and I found out that, look, no, nothing close to the truth. And I can't talk much about it, but it was not anywhere close to what people were saying. And this was
it against the government or what?
I can't go into what it was against the government or not, but I'll just tell you that how much Liberians can just take rumors and run with it. Look, I was just on the lighter side of things. I just got information. I mean, my wife told me, something happened back home. What happened? Oh, these people were sleeping, and somebody came to the house at night and broke the window and put a match in it and light the candle. And the story is so bizarre because nobody saw the person, nobody knows the person, but they are able to narrate what happened.
Misrepresent.
They were able to narrate what happened. They said it was like 3 a.m. it happened. They were sleeping. Nobody knew it, but they're able to narrate it. So look, I respect Kai. Kai is my brother, and I like I said, I called him this morning. As I do whenever African Star come up with one of his speculative, stories. He didn't answer me. I will still call him. I'm telling you, this work is just what do we call it in literature?
Professor, send this view as speculation.
Yeah.
I want us to establish something here.
Yeah.
Is it right for people to raise money here on behalf of political institution and put to the Fed and send it to Liberia? Is it right?
Liberian law.
Is it legal for you to raise any money here that you don't put to the Fed and send it to Liberia on behalf of political institution? Is it illegal in America?
Look. Let me chop in.
Hey, hold on there, Mr. Toh, hold on there. You said. Professor,
he seems to be the dialing guy of the first, but let's see how this is going to end up.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that.
Yeah.
Let me go to Mr. Toh. Mr. Toh.
Yes.
Is it right? Is it legal in Liberia for people to raise money from Liberia, from America, and send it to Liberia for political purposes and not report to the election commission? Is it legal?
No.
Well, I don't know what the Liberian law states, but let me tell you this. Pa George. We can raise tons of money here and send it to a political person who is running a campaign in Liberia. And most of the time, money comes out of here. They are giving the money to the political person to support the community.
No.
They don't. Hold on. You see, that's one thing about two of you.
No, this is why you
will not allow me.
It is wrong. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Mr. So, you see, this is what you conservatives do. You don't like freely. Now you're going to tell me how I should speak and what I need to say. If I may remind you, this is the United States of America. We, as a liberal country, we have freedom of speech. Please, let me express myself. Now, Mr. George, here is the point. When these money are collected, they send it home to sympathize with a separate community. They're not sending the money home to say, we want you to do commercial or sit in this country and arrange how the money should be spent. Now, if I send you money and it just happened that you're running a campaign, Let me plead total law on you a little bit. And Mr. So please, and you happen to be that you're running a campaign. I'm not here telling you what to do with it. I'm sympathizing with you because I'm sending you money for you to sympathize with a specific community. Do you understand that?
No, but let me also take it from yeah, right, Mr. Two. Let me tell you another thing. Let me just bring in something here that is going to cause an uproar. Look, several years ago, the CDC and other political parties were pushing for the, how did they call it? What was it? Democracy support something, a bill or something like that, wherein there was supposed to be money allocated for political parties for campaigning.
CDC always coming up with the flimsy law to
remember
that? If you don't understand it, that's okay.
There's no fire in your hole. He won't like this. He won't like this. But here's what I think. Look, and let's be honest. We're talking about our own country, and we want to be very fair. I think it is not right for money to be raised outside Liberia and sent to Liberia to sponsor political activities. I also understand that political organizations here could funnel or channel those money through other means that could conceal the intent to support political parties, and it could fall within the framework of the law. That can be that is done. That's doable. Yeah. Even in the United States, people do it. They find loopholes to invade the campaign financing laws. So you can do it. There are so many loopholes in Liberian laws that you can use to do it. But I don't think it's a good thing for anyone to allow to be doing. And you know, that's one of the things I would tell people.
It influences a lot of decisions.
One of the inherent danger in I always tell people. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger became a governor in California. Jesse Ventura, he became a governor. Al Franken became a senator. And right now, Kathleen, Jenner, wants to be a governor in California. You know, allowing these things to happen could one day make somebody who doesn't even understand anything in Liberia to raise a humongous amount of money, take it to Liberia, and be able to buy their way into political power. And that could spell chaos for our country. So I think we need to find the Election Commission need to be more vigilant in curtailing it, but equally so, I think there has to be a reform in our political system. Look, political parties doesn't exist. We don't have political parties in our country for the most. So I think we need to find a way we can reach.
Again, Professor?
Yeah, what do I mean?
But I will try to.
Hold on 1 second. Professor said something quite fascinating. We do not have political parties in Liberia.
We don't have political parties in Liberia. They are mostly these are little clubs driven by personal interest. And yes,
including your own party.
We are not a party. We are not a party. We are a movement.
I love this.
We're not a party. We are a movement.
Okay.
We are different. Okay. We are more than a party. We are a movement. We passed that stage of being a political party.
Oh my goodness! But then when it comes to other political parties, then they are just a club. CDC is a corrupt organization. Corrupt movement. Let's go ahead.
I think they need to pass a bill in Liberia the political party sustainability bill that will provide funding for political parties that will reach certain thresholds in elections, so as to sustain them and make them not to be dependent on foreign infusion of cash to control our body politics in Liberia. I think we should think about it. Even if we start $1 million, allocating $1 million to political party so that it can be structured. You know, political party are reach certain threshold, maybe obtain 10% of the vote. 15% of it. Guess what's going to happen? If you introduce that bill, then people will congregate into 1, 2, 3, 4 political parties. It will make it much more understandable, manageable, and our people will be able to make a better and more informed decisions on who should run our country. In the absence of that,
Mr. So,
people will continue
I don't mean to interrupt, but what the professor is saying, it's fascinating, to be honest with you, and you just correctly stated that. However, I also believe that what the professor is saying, why it is true, and this would be considered structure building, political structure building, and none of the political leaders or even leadership in Liberia as a whole have no interest in building institution or building political structure, because if they do that, they will no longer have power. And that's their fear. So what do? They put themselves, as the professor correctly stated, they put themselves at the head of the movement, and now they will be considered the chief. The chief say, we can't move this, you can't do that without the chief say. There's no institution. And this is a sad situation for our country, because as long as we do not have political structure, as long as we do not have institution building capacity in our country, we're going nowhere. Because only those who have the power, or at the echelon of as the professor said, movement, those are the people that will continue to enjoy. What exactly Jefferson Kochi have done in his life to be at the pinnacle of CDC and this government? What has he done? What can you prove to that a young person like Jefferson Kochi can come out and enumerate some of the experiences for him to be at the top of this game right now? It's because of the movement. And so those who have the ability to be at the top of a movement, they then be considered as head of an institution. There ain't no institution. There's no political structure in Liberia. So let us don't fool ourselves. Let's consider it as a movement or gangster, if you want to be a derogatory in a sense, and which I don't intend to be yet. But just exactly how these things are.
Okay. You have something before we go?
Yeah, let me say this. When you raise money for a political institution, that money is not intended to go and give the community to build water pump and do this. That money should be used to sponsor that campaign. That you're talking about, maybe voter education. Those are the issues you raise money for. Voter education, launching different programs to inform your constituency about how the party is running and what is the aim and objective of your campaign. In America, here, this current campaign, Joe Biden and Ray, excess of money. What they did in Georgia, Stacey Abrams organizes voter registration. Most of that money was pumped into it to have more people register in Georgia. So Stacey Abrams organization, it was not given to her to say, you're going to put so you can go to give to the people in the community. That is not the purpose. Because when you're making your report, you should outline how that money on the campaign directly. You cannot come and say you give $5,000 to this community to help them to build a toilet or water. That is not the purpose of that money. And if people want to send money to their relatives or whoever, personally, they can do that. But when you are raising money on behalf of a political institution, that money is intended to help that campaign directly, making an announcement, voter registration. Those are the things, printing papers. Those are the things you raise that money for. It's not intended to go help people in community to say because our people are suffering. No, this is where the corruption starts from. That's not the corruption today is in Liberia. When people raise money, they go and use it for different purpose and say it was raised for political institutions, so the man has already do it. No. If you do that here, you'll go to jail. And let me just read to Buttress what Professor Zawo said. And let me say this again. People who raise money here and give it to people in Liberia, that money should be reported that it's for political purposes. It's not to do humanitarian work. So we can pay taxes, and when they go to Liberia, it should be reported to the government, so the government, whatever necessary taxes they need to be paid the government. But instead of that, they bypass it and using this money all over. This is why today you see all the Lebanese and Indian boys getting all the fabulous contracts in Liberia. It's not only George, we are from.
And I think
put this money to the political party, nobody knows. They use it in the night when they break, this party win. All the Liberia contract go to the Lebanese and Indian board, and people are wondering how these people get in the contract. It's because these are the people who donate that dark money to the Liberian people, to the Liberian politicians.
Yeah, and I think the cardinal aspect of that, before we pivot here, I go to Liberian conversation here. I think this is very crucial in the sense that we yearning for good governance, accountability, transparency. It all factors in, and there are laws on the book. Not every, because you're Liberians, not every Liberian, any part of the world, to contribute to campaign funding. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be a Liberian, to vote to a Liberian before you can get to a campaign. Now, we have these politicians that front on these election, the election commissions, other institutions that are in charge to conduct free, fair election. But there are also clauses that are dead. They too themselves should be able to adhere to them. But the same very people, they flip the coins around, they violate these laws, and then we come back to say we want to chastise this other institution. I think that is unfair. And we'll try to do as much as possible because we'll reach out to the election commission, public relation man Flomo, and we hope to talk to the because as this election, and I tell you, 2023 they're going to be crazy because there are three major elections in the making. The presidential, so it's like hell going to break loose. Everybody going to be in that no man ring and fighting for their political career. So that's going to be the danger because nobody will have the time to keep track what is coming in, what is going in. It is important that we have those sort of conversations ahead of time to make sure that the process is well guided. Yeah, go ahead, Professor.
So I'll tell you one thing. Look, it will be chaotic, but the election will go on, and it will be.
Of course.
Yeah, it will go on. You know, and I will hope that my party, you know, would take some steps. I don't know when those people on the commission will expire, but our election commission is extremely weak to take us to major elections. The election will go on. You know,
is there a conversation going in within the Beltway now? You're breaking outdoor?
No, I don't know about any conversation, but I'm just telling you. You saw the chairperson of the commission reading numbers like she was in the first grade. I think it's going to be chaotic. I mean, and you know what I thought when I was criticizing that year, I thought I was the only one. What?
No, I said you and myself were seeing from the day one.
Yeah, but other people have been staying in Liberia also. They've been complaining about it. So I don't know, but the election will go on.
Yeah, okay. And this is all election related. You have the Liberal.
Yes.
Are you chatting with Liberty partisans from inside Liberia on this issue? Because you seem not to be with us.
And even if I were, I'm not going to sit here and tell you who I'm chatting with, what political leaders I'm chatting with.
However, infiltrated assistant, how do you think I'm going to make this sort of educated guess? But it's a time for us to have this sort of a conversation. And the professor is saying he's being backed by Amos George now, as usual, leaving you in court. Do you think this election commission, there must be a revision in terms of then conducting these elections that are ahead, 2023?
This election commission is not credible to conduct nothing. This election commission is a fraud. This election commission does not have the capacity to build anything. This election commission should be reviewed. This election commission, you should revise the system. This election commission, they all should be kicked out and bring in new folks to handle it. The election commission, if they come out 2023 and they said that we are going to be re-elected and tiny edition to be re-elected, there's no way nobody going to accept their result because these people are not credible. Look at what happened in Lofa County. Look at the kinds of mess they created in Lofa County. Look what happened. And these are people you expect to
tell us the story.
What happened there? What happened in Lofa County?
Oh, of course. It's in your interest, CDC. So you don't remember any of these things.
Are you going to Brandon Samuka? Is that why you're going?
Of course.
They have nothing to do with that.
A big mess in Lofa County.
I'm not going to go to Lofa County, but the referendum that they had up to today, the result of that referendum has not been made published.
Okay, so let's give it a fair conversation.
Let me say something. From day one, when I said that I happened with the chairman of the election commission, Mr. Mayor from Totan, was talking and said the woman was most qualified. Yeah, Professor Agula, I said there was a problem. He said the woman was more qualified to run that institution. Not tonight.
That's what makes me a liberal. Let me tell you once more about we, the liberal. We allow people to make mistakes. We allow people to expose themselves. Once that happens, their true self come out. Then me as a liberal cannot make a judgment based on facts. I'm not going to look at somebody and say this person might or will or shall. I'm not going to go through all of this process. I wait until this person come out and demonstrate to us that he or she do not have the capacity to do what they have to do. Other than that, I can't condemn nobody.
I was having a discussion with my friend and brother Isaac Tuba today, and we're just talking about how sustained some of us have been in the political system, how some others just joined, somewhere along the line. Look, go and look at every name of those people on our commission.
Yes.
You'll find those people are totally neophytes, strangers to the whole politics and political.
Strangers. Well, what sort of identity have you attached to them, Professor?
I know the people on the thing. I heard them. Look, let me tell you something. Did you see Jerome Kokoya during the last election? Did you see how tense it was and how he was able to handle himself? Do you think any one of those the chairperson or the co-chair of that commission, even Promoya? I mean, not that he was a smart guy.
No.
But you saw him, even with his incompetence, his ineptitude, he was still able. Promoya was a school student politician. He was an activist for a very long time. So even when he screwed up, he was able to at least, withstand the pressure and able to do something to at least exonerate himself, space himself, give himself some time. I mean, you look at that commission.
So, okay, are these political parties, are they having the sort of conversations they are having now, knowing where they came from, their experiences during the last election, or are we waiting on the day of the election to start to raise those sort of concerns?
I don't want to monopolize, but here's the thing. I think here's the mistake the political parties would make. If they're going after credibility, I think that would be the wrong thing to do. I think if the political party can go after competence as the issue. Yes. You know what? Let me be very honest with you. I don't see it possible, and I may be wrong. I don't think the Election Commission have the ability. I don't think they have the know-how. These are not very bright people to twist the election result in favor of another person. But what they could do is to make the thing so muddy that will make it difficult for certain candidates, to win. And those candidates they're going to make it difficult for could be from the CDC or could be not from the CDC. So I don't think it's an issue of credibility.
When you say make it difficult for them to win, in what context? What would be the stumbling block?
The way they handled, the way violations will be handled, and the way they will manage the whole electoral process. Yeah, we are talking about people. Never before has it been like this today. The amount of money that is leaving from the U.S. going to politics.
So should they blame your party, because it is your party that brought in this nomination? And fair to say, the House, both houses or committees, select committee, they also have the responsibility to reject after reviewing this nomination.
You guys are more concerned about Wambudiki, and so then this is what you got.
No, but let me say this. And some of the issue Professor Zawo is raising is quite in place. Jeff Marshall, Mr. Do, you know the story, or no? Part of Grand that district, there was no election. Balabax went somewhere else. The people arrived at nobody. Portion of Nima again. Similar thing.
Even Sino or could just quite reasonable before he was satisfied. So, but yeah, what I'm talking here, gentlemen. So let's have a fair conversation here. Now, we all saw the budget that was coming in. Should we blame the government? I think everybody, every group, player, interest groups is responsible for this, because that budget was slashed to the big years. And I believe they went before a committee in the House, and it was their job. Elections, the cost of elections is very huge. So is it because there was not enough funding?
No.
Well?
Mr. So, let me make this point here very quickly. I want us to understand that this particular issue with the election commissioners and what have you, we're not going to go to Ghana and borrow election commission from there. We're not going to go to Sierra Leone or any other country. The election commission in Liberia will have to be Liberians. However, as far as the political party is concerned right now, and from my perspective, I don't want them to make any noise, to say anything at this moment. Because why were you saying anything when there's nothing on the plate of the election commission? What I think these political leaders, if they truly believe in Liberia, if they truly want to lead Liberia to the next level, they must encourage the government and work with the government to educate the voters. Once the voters are educated truly to understand what exactly things that are involved in electoral process, then the election commission will have no more big deal to try to manipulate or what have you. But the fact that these people, and I'm just saying political opposition, and I'm one of those, but many of these leaders, they believe, I don't have it, you shouldn't have it. Instead of to say, okay, you have it, you're doing wrong, but we will help you to improve the system so that when we come in, we will also be successful. This is what is lacking in Liberia. Everyone wants to be in power, but they do not want to help to strengthen the power they want to get. And as a result, once they get in, the corrupt behavior takes over.
No, let me say this. The political party you're talking about, you want to say to work with the government. The president of the Republic of Liberia has that mandate to appoint all the commissioners. No, he doesn't consult any opposition.
No, but that's not the point that I'm making, Mr. Judge. I'm not saying about the election. I said to work with the government to educate the voters.
Hold on. The political parties, they can go with their own campaign to educate the voters. People can do it as a organization. You have different organizations that can launch, that can take on that to educate the voters. Government is there to facilitate the process. You can educate all the voters. You can give them all the education. If the people who support that election are not competent, it's just waste of time.
If they are not trained,
they are not
trained, they are not equipped.
I disagree with both of you. I disagree with all of you on this. I disagree. I strongly disagree. Because if the people are educated, Mr. George, if the people, the voters themselves, if they are educated on the subject matter that are involved in making the choice and not waiting for bag of rice or a cup of rice or sardine and what have you, if those things are eliminated, and these things can only happen with the opposition and the government working in unison to educate the voters.
Let me tell you
the importance of their vote.
Let me give an illustration. In Georgia, the Republican Secretary of State, Rasmus Berger, he is the one that in charge of election in Georgia. You saw what happened, all the education they did in Georgia. If that commission was not capable and competent to handle the result of the election, it would have been a big mess in this country, because the president of the United States at the time was calling him to manipulate the result of that election. He was not calling the voters, he was calling the Secretary of State, which he's charged with the responsibility to certify the election. He was calling the man to do something different. But because the man knows his role and the responsibility that he had to do, and with the Constitution, he said, no, this is it, and this won't happen. What I'm seeing, or what professors are, or some of us are seeing on this platform, is that you can do all the voter education in Liberia. The people, you can give them all the civic education, everything. But if the institution that's supposed to guide these people to give this outcome that everybody, or 90% or 75% will be certified, if they are not competent or capable of handling it, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with it. That's the point I'm making. I don't agree with you guys. Is it, Mr. George? Let me say this again, and perhaps this time around, maybe I will get through. If you have the government and the opposition in unison working to educate the voters in terms of election and the electoral process, who you think going to be involved? The election commission. The election commission most likely going to be the arms that the government going to use. So if these people are involved in educating the voters, they themselves will also be in the process training and understanding the voters, because it's going to be two-way street, two-way conversation. So if you understand that, then we'll be fine.
Can I come in?
Professor, can I just throw the question? Who knows? Maybe you were going to answer for it. Let's go to our caller on the line here. We don't put a number on here, but we're going to do that. Our caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Mr. Houston Brooks again. I'm privileged to be able to call in, and I accused my dear Professor Zawulo for getting under my skin the last time he called. I called. Good evening, Professor. Good evening, Mr. Amos George. Good evening, my brother Samson Brown Toll. My question, though, it seems like tonight collectively, my concern is, are the panelists saying, and even you, Mr. Soul, is that our National Election Commission right now in Liberia is not up to the task of ensuring free and fair elections in 2023? And will this not call into question the legitimacy of the results of 2023, no matter who wins?
Ooh, yeah, that's a Powerball question. Okay, so just stay there. Let me go to the guys, the panelists, and they're gonna they will answer. Okay, Professor, you wanted to address something, but there's a question came in. You want to address that question?
I mean, I will try to answer the question, and then I will provide an illustration for Mr. Tu if I don't forget. Yes, look, whenever there's an issue of competence, it can bring into question the credibility of the results. And the credibility of results could be questioned not because it was intentionally undermined by the commission, but because things that were supposed to be done by the commission were not done. And so it can really raise a question about the result. But here's the thing I wanted to talk about also. So I will hope that the issue of competence must be addressed at the Elections Commission prior to going to the 2023 elections. I just don't think they have the capacity to deliver a free, fair elections. And not because they have any intention to cheat. They're just not competent enough to do it. Mr. Tu, I agree with you that we need education. 100%. I don't think anybody doubt it. Sometimes I would think that most young people in Liberia are overly educated about elections in Liberia. Because if you listen to the number of talk shows we have in Monrovia, it looks like they're getting too much education than they need. But here's what I would say to you. Look, give them all the education. Okay? Educate the voters. That's fine. Good. Then the election commission take the ballot box for Kitmon and carry it to sign on election day. How does the voters being educated help in that situation? Mr. Tu, help me.
Yes, I'll answer that very quickly. And before I do that, let me just answer the caller question. And all three of the question is yes. It's the incompetence of the election commission. Any election, without going through what I'm suggesting, any election, the opposition will not accept the result. If Dr. Weah's CDC is defeated, they're not going to accept the result either, because they themselves have serious problem with the election commission. They're just being quiet right now. Now, Mr. Professor, the question you're asking is this: if you're saying you seem to be suggesting that if they go through by educating the voters, giving proper education to the voters, you think that in fact you believe that they're already educated in many areas in terms of the electoral process, which I agree with you. But the fact that the election commission would take the ballot from Cape Mount to take it to sign, how is that going to help if the voters are educated? Professor, you're a professor. You know the process of education. Education, for example, my experience, you can go and do structure. I'm just giving what I know, engineering. Yeah. You go and do structure engineering. And in the process of your educator explaining how the structure of the, how to build structure, how to go about analyzing steels and what have you, in that process, if you listen to the professor, he will give an example of what to do. Common example that might be even in your own house. So if you come back to the issue of voter education, these things, these questions will come out from the educational process. How do we, as a voters, expect to have boxes, true boxes that belong to Cape Mount, to come to Cape Mount? That's educational process, and people are going to educate themselves and also help to educate the election commission and this group. Why is it that voters, we have ballots coming from Cape Mount going to Sino? What happened? There must have been a cause. There must be a reason. People have some reason why they did that. Those are the kinds of stuff as an educator, you go after these things and find out what happened. And you know how we call it in the engineering world? Mistake learned, lesson learned, and hopefully teachable movement, and hopefully these mistakes are not repeated.
Let me say this.
Okay, before we go to the next thing, quick.
Yeah, let me say this. What the scenario that Professor gave you, I'm going back to Grand Gideon. Let's assume all these people you are giving, all this you're talking about. The question here is, they are not the one responsible to distribute the ballot boxes. It's the administrative responsibility. So, if the ballot boxes are going to Grand Gideon, in that clan went to different clan, what is the responsibility of these people who, the voters that you elect, that got all the education, what is their responsibility in that moment? I didn't want to tell the election commission, no, the box, they didn't want to retrieve that box to bring it there. That is what we talk about the incompetency company. That way it comes in. So you can give all the education. But when they come to administering the paper, the boxes, that level election commission is no more voter education. That is not a part again. So if the commission cannot organize these areas, I don't care how much education you get to the voter, there will be complaint. We saw it.
It seemed to me, I think we're talking cross purpose here, Mr. George.
Hold on.
Mr. So, hold on 1 minute.
Hold on, Mr. To. No, hold on. The election commission said 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, all election results should be, and now, if not so far to the court. How long did your election commission take in Liberia? Today, there are some cases that they are not yet adjudicated, and it stays within the commission. These are the issues with them that has nothing to do with the voter.
Mr. George,
unfortunately,
the point.
Unfortunately,
the educational process that I'm talking about, it encompasses all of these things that you're concerned with. Because here's what I'm saying. If the government and the opposition are working to educate the voters, hold on, please. To educate the voters, who do you think the government going to use? They will obviously use the election commissioners to come out and bring issue how and what they expect of the voters. The voter themselves will also want the election commission to be expected something out of them. So I just don't agree with you guys, but of course, you don't think the way we think.
Let me cut it to
How can a challenge commission provide that kind of education when they themselves need to be educated?
Before we get to our final segment, time is already going here. I think the liberal
farmer chief of Bush Devil sees an election boxes in Babu. What was the plan that this election commission had to say if this thing happened, these are the measures we can take? What about they if they are competent? Do the voter have anything to do with that? No, the voter don't have anything to do with that.
Mr. George, I think I told you guys the story about the election commission appearing at my school in Kakata without anyone. They said they had used it before, so they just came that morning to get to use it. I mean, so those are all issues of competence. I don't know how voters' education can assuage those kind of concerns and stuff like that. But I understand what Mr. is saying. He's talking about overall education of the commission and the voters. But I mean, why don't you just go and get better commissioners?
Mr. So, Mr. So, I have a question for you. What lie?
I'm questioning you.
My name is not appearing on my book, on my picture. Why is it I don't have my name showing for the people to know who's speaking, Mr. So? Is there any kinds of hidden agenda here? Oh, thank you.
Is that a deflection?
This guy is always a distraction to conversation. He has diluted this whole question here, makes the voters, elections, and everything. He just makes it up, took the ones to be to the bottom and bring it to the top here. So, I mean, just don't mix it up, okay? That's two different things here. Your political parties, you are responsible to educate your followers to make sure what is done. The time that they would take to be doing sour dancing all day, you should need those institutions as a political party. You should have a smaller group educating people, do those outreach and stuff. That's not the responsibility of the Election Commission. All right, so that's not it. Well, let's talk on the last few things here before we wrap up in the 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we can't conclude something here. But let's see here. I'm curious to know, this is this is the talk of the town, and people saying what it's going to look like. Let me just get him here. Mr. Molabat Yombiot, who happens to be the COP Secretary General. I'm concerned here, Professor Liberal, who is also have ties with the COP here. I'm finding it very difficult, the correlations, the relationship, having pressure group, embedded, also involved in with political parties, yet their true identity is yet to be established. Some members have been expelled, whatever the situations, the leadership gave them the go ahead to say, hey, go anywhere you want to go. Is that a workable strategy? Would that solidify the pressure group for the long-term goal if they are to survive? I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'm getting the wrong shadow or getting the wrong picture here, because I'm thinking here that this group must stand, they must observe the process, and they, at some point in time, they take a definitive position. But to be here and there, one go to this other end, one go to this other end, isn't it a recipe to create a fragment within the same very group that will say they're going to be a pressure group of against the ruling party?
Mr. So,
where is it? Who's getting edge here?
Mr. So, this is what I'm going to say on this here. There are two things as far as I'm concerned. This young man is courageous to leave COP and go with ANC. However, from a national point of view, from a national stage, what he has done is intellectually dishonest, to be honest with you. He has the right to leave from one group to go to another. But to get on to ANC, when you know ANC is part of a collaborating political party, and not only you leave in COP, who also is a supporting arm of the collaborating political party, opposition collaborating political party. What he has done, and as young as he is, he has peers, people who, and also have young people who also look up to him. Not only did he go to ANC, so what he has done, it seemed to me, what he's trying to demonstrate is that ANC can stand by, in fact, he stated that ANC should be giving the state power because they have the ability to move the country forward. This young man, he's no different from what I'm from, and I'm making a judgment here. Perhaps I'm getting ready to put a foot in my own mouth, but that's who I am. I don't care. So, but this young man, it seemed to me that he's just like the many other young people that Madame Sally brought on board, hoping that these people were going to stress the fact that they're supposed to have a political structure as young as that party were or the government were, to have a political structure that anybody, people like me, can come in and still be able to move this country. But instead, what I noticed with this young man is that it seemed to me that he seemed to be someone who think about himself and not about the overall. This is ridiculous. Okay. Even if he is in support of ANC, he could have stayed with COP and still fight. And because ANC and the group and the other political collaborating political, they have structure. He's jumping from one pen to another and hoping that the structure that brought this group together will not be notified. This is ridiculous, and this is also intellectually dishonest.
Okay, let me come to Pa George and Amos George and Professor Zavlo here. Pa George and Zavlo here. I'm trying to make a forecast here, but I could be wrong. The future of COP, their potency, I was kind of saying little cancer, column cancer, or whatever cancer is gradually creeping into these people with this opposition, because opposition or pressure group. It seems like everybody is trying to fight for integrity and accommodation, political accommodation at the end of the day, because they are realized if you are not in the vanguard of the struggle, and when the time comes to harvest, to make that political harvest, you're going to be left by the wayside. So these people are planting seed with the hope that it will germinate and they can get some political relevance. People want to be like, we saw what happened with the Jefferson Koji scenario, and he began to be a chess. I went to jail. I fight for my people. So it is a perfect example that people are emulating. But Pat George, you are very strong critic. How dangerous is this process? Because we are saying the supporters of ANC and that of former President Joseph Boyka, there is a political bloodbath. Is gradually there, but their leaders, I'm not sure they are handling it. So on the other side, I see the ruling establishment is in a big time celebration. Lead these people, they will uncover themselves, they will bring themselves into the picture. But let me just take the caller here quickly, then I will come to you guys here to see whether he has a question. 612 number, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead quickly. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Terry calling from Minnesota.
Okay, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Mr. Brown is not really flowing in the direction that I expect, because you need to understand that this brother has his political rights under our laws to choose which direction to take, and everybody choose their own direction as the way they please. So I don't think that when you use the word the man is honest, I think it's too strong, because the man, you must understand that you have the right to exercise your political rights by choosing which side of the coin you desire to flow, given the fact that you have understanding that and trust that this particular direction is the right way you want to go. I don't think you need to fight somebody for that, all right? Even, even if you look at the Unity Party, all right, many people feel disenchanted in the Unity Party to choose Joseph Boyka at this time. Looking at the way Unity Party handled the country for 12 years, you cannot take Joseph Boyka out of the process to say that Joseph Boyka was not part of the field leadership that brought into power this particular leadership that is causing problems for our people. We also need to understand that Joseph Boyka, in my mind,
30 seconds before I go to the analyst.
Yeah, it would be very difficult for Joseph Boyka to persecute Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And if he cannot persecute Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, he will not stand in the reputable position to be able to prosecute the CDC-led government.
Okay.
So it means that there will be a reprobation of similar things that we see in previous government continuing in the leadership of the government if Joseph Boyka becomes the next president for Liberia.
Okay.
So that is that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So Amos George.
Yeah.
Is the opposition of the actions of this COP and the trend that we are saying, this sort of little tie breakaway, expulsion, crossing over to the ruling establishment, so forth, so on, countless. Who this process is going to hurt eventually? With this coalition, will they survive?
Let me start from somewhere. the COP, they have lost the legitimacy. And I know many people know when I want to hear that from me. What do I mean by this?
Tell us.
The hierarchy of this COP, they all belong to a political institution. They had never separated themselves from those political institutions.
So it brings into questions of their advocacy, because pressure group more or less is in the advocate's direction. So, but they are components of two things. They want to be a politician, they want to be an advocate, and it can be the Nelson Mandela, because I don't understand.
You can serve as a pressure group, but these people have not been able to distinguish themselves a pressure group to that of the political leaders. Let me give you a few examples. My brother Costa defend Benina Ure as his political co-file. He defends Joseph Boakai. Now, as a leader, we want to serve as a pressure group. You are already established a personal interest in these people. You are not yet separate yourself from these people. That call into question. The last time Costa posted that he was going to endorse Joseph Boakai. Then Sebi from the ANC, from the COP fired right back. Said Costa cannot take that unilateral position. He went back to say it was possible, but people call him. Now, if you want to run a pressure group, how can you do that when you tangle yourself with all these people? That call into credibility of the young people, the very people you see who moving here. Look at Ben Topa, who went to the CDC. So there is a problem with this.
The talking point is nothing.
Yes,
people.
Yeah, there is a problem with these people. Most of the people, I would say, they are bella-driven. They've not been sincere to the institution which they say they belong to. This is a serious problem for Liberia.
So out of honesty, as we hold the politicians accountable, we must hold advocates accountable and their leaders. Are they telling us the bottom line? Why, in the first place, these people? And I know you're going to sound ridiculous. People will always have these sort of political differences, but when you come together as a group, there is an ultimate cost. There is a goal. You want to get to the end of this marathon. So why are these people leaving? First and foremost, why are they leaving?
They are better driven. I will tell you, most people, they don't have principles. They don't have principles. Yeah, because here's the thing here. If you want to serve as a pressure group, yeah, you can have ties with people, but you have to displace. You have to tell people that this group will support anybody who come out of this group here, because we have a goal to achieve. But when you get this group, look at Mo Ali. He wrote, how can Mo Ali detach himself from the United Party to that of the COP? It just hard. Dallas Delon. It just hard. So how can these people come together to say, okay, you know what happened? At the end of the day, this is the candidate who we're going to endorse. It's just difficult because they are entangled themselves with all these people. That's
okay. I see the professor there smiling here. Yeah. This seems to be to put the ball in their legs.
They have entangled themselves because the leadership of that institution has not established a true democracy, a framework to guide those people to say, look, you know what, we are a pressure group. We have to stay away from these people. When they do this, when we come to this point, this is where we'll come, and whoever emerges from the institution, that's what we want to endorse. But when you have individual people say, oh, I'm endorsing this person, oh, I'm supporting this person, where you leaving the institution? Where's the institution now?
Okay, let me bring in Professor here. Before
to cripple the COP, they have destroyed themselves already because of the leadership style. Okay. People might not like it, but
you got to hold on. I'm going to call you. But let me just bring in the professor here. Professor, with this in mind here, I'm wondering here that the initiations, whether there was a short-term, long-term goal in the establishment of this pressure group called COP, or was it done on the emergency crisis to address the unfolding situations at once, saying maybe within the public domain or psycho-public judgment, the CDC government, they were saying doing the right thing. So, okay, let us put together and get this here. But after that, I'm wondering whether they sat around the table to define the objective, how long they intend to stay within the political cycle as a pressure group for Liberia, or are they were just focusing maybe the first term, the senatorial ended races or what, seeing what is happening now. Is it benefiting you?
Well, I don't know what is benefiting us. We are not interested in a group of Liberians coming to add more chaos to our already confusing political situation. So for us, I think it's problematic that people are just carving all of these different organizations for their own personal aggrandizement. COP was never structured. It was never a legal entity. The CPP, I seriously question. I don't have the details, but I don't think it's also a legal entity. But the COP, I would characterize it as a criminal entity. It's a terrorist organization that had a terroristic intent.
Hold on 1 second, professors. Those are very strong. It's like Israeli. Hold on 1 second, professor. It's like the Israeli now defining the Hamas. They are terrorist group. They not want to talk to them.
Yeah. Here's what I think I'll say to you. Look, we have an economy in Liberia that must run. When you engage in activity that will undermine or impede the free movement of people, it has a propensity to undermine the economics of our country.
What are you talking about?
It was legal.
That is what the COP was born about. That was what created the COP.
It went through the legal framework to the hospital.
Well, once they went through that process and they felt that they could instill fear in the people, they decided to maintain our structure. They never sought to redefine themselves for the CPP king. But here's one of the scary things. Ellis Cummings, I had an opportunity to engage the Ellis Cummings people before the 2017 election. Somewhere around the 2017 elections, I had a chance to work with them at some level. And Ellis Cummings is a chameleon. It's amazing that he will, be identifying with people today. He felt the problems of Liberia. He said every politician in Liberia, except for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, was corrupt. He would never identify himself with them. He wanted to come in Liberia. He was a savior sent from heaven to come and redeem our people. And so he was not going to tie himself. To see him today embracing, getting in bed with even Joseph Boycott, or some people from the CPP, or from the COP, it scares me. It shows how desperate he is for political power. And when Liberians are saying, the other caller who keep calling and say that Joseph Boycott would not persecute Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Cummings would be, I don't know what he understands statute of limitation. And is this what our country should be about? Should we be scaring people from wanting to leave power or persecuting people? On what basis are you going to be persecuting Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? On what basis will you want to persecute the CDC government? Is that the kind of message we want to send? So guess what? When we do that, guess what? After every 6 years, you have almost all the former government officials in jail. Then another 6 years, you switch it around.
Before the liberal come here, Joyce, Professor, from what I'm hearing from you, this seems to be the driving wagon potentially could be coming from the ruling establishment. Try to create this sort of soundbite or drive this sort of narrative. Let's do this so that Ellis Cummings could stand on his own. And looking at the proliferations of these political parties in Liberia, no one can get over the finishing line with that 50
Mr. So, stop it right.
So are you guys? I'm coming. I'm going to give you the fair chance to talk. Are you more or less preaching the Bible here that, hey, Ellis Cummings, get out of this guy and stand on your own? Is that what the CDC strategy they are moving on?
Look, I would fear Henry personally. I fear Henry Costa or Darius Dillon than Ellis Cummings. Ellis Cummings doesn't connect with Liberian people. He's aloof.
Okay, guys, let's see our veteran James Gomia is on the line.
Mr. So.
Yeah, as Lebra, please let's just bring our contributor James Gomia here, a veteran journalist. let's see here. I don't know whether he's going to make an endorsement or whatever the case. Mr. Gomian.
Yes.
Okay, I'm quite sure you've been following the conversation. I know you are unable to come live or video here, but you listened. The liberal is back here and he is causing harm than good as all we expected on this network here, but we managed to try to deal with him. We have the professor on the other side now has established identity or another group of Liberian itself. We don't know how that going to work. Amos Joy going to respond, but you just calling here. Tell us from what you have gathered so far from the conversation.
Well, I'm calling because Professor Zawlo made me call.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Professor Zawlo is saying that the guy that called talk about, I just want to, Professor Zawlo, the reason Ellen Johnson should have been called or asked to tell us what she did with the money when your government took over. They said the cover was empty. They said there was no money. So if the president who just came from office did not leave money, why didn't your government do something about it? And you said that they would be hunting or people would be afraid to leave office because they would fear persecution. Why would you say that? Okay, your government, CDC said that Eddie left office with no money. So if Ellen left office with no money, why didn't CDC call Ellen and tell all the government officials and audit them and do something about it? And you're saying that this way, so because we're afraid to prosecute former leaders for stealing the government money, we should just leave them and let them do whatever they want.
In fact, the acting president right now, Mr. Gomian, to add up to what you are saying, the acting president Tanzania now, she is carrying a massive audit. The very government she works in as vice president.
Those are all showmanship.
Okay. Thank you so much. One second. Let me go. I just hold on right there.
Well, our country to go on. We should not audit them. We should not call them and question them.
Okay.
Here's the problem, Mr. Gomez.
Before I go back to I want to be coming to you guys, Professor. You're not on there yet. 774. I go ahead quickly, make your point before I go back to my panelists.
Thank you so much, Mr. So, this is Dwalin calling right here from Boston, Mass. I just called because, like I said, the professor made me call.
The professor, hold on one second. Are you in Boston? Are you following the super?
Always making people. That's downbite.
Yeah, but listen, let me make this point before I even answer that question. First of all, if we go along with the professor's analogy, CDC itself was a terror organization. Listen now, any organization that quote unquote stop economic activity, they should be deemed a terrorist organization. I don't know where he's getting that from, but it's total lunacy. Now let me just make this point. The professor is going to tell us that because somebody stays in government and that person steals from government, for the sake of continuing with it, we should let it go because every 6 years there will be prosecution going on. However, the professor come out and say, listen, we should discourage this kind of behavior by prosecuting it. What is the whole point? The professor, you have to understand something. Liberia does not fall or end where the president is the president we are. There is continuation after that point. What is happening in Liberia, I understand you will continue to defend it. I personally don't understand what you stand to gain by defending this kind of behavior from the CDC-led government, but it's ridiculous, many measures. But here's my final point because other people want to come here as well. You're talking about people hopping around from political party to political party, not just the professor, but the other panelists as well. We have to be realistic here. My man, let's put it this way. Most of these young men have absolutely no means of earning a living in Liberia. This government, not just this government, but every government before it, provides absolutely no avenue for anybody to eat. So these boys will chase wherever they find the money. And I believe currently in the government, in the country, maybe Mr. Cummings have some money and money being thrown around, they will move around. This is how the country is set up because there's absolutely nothing outside the government. And this is even more defined on the George Weah administration. We are talking dangerous things that the professor should know better because there is no employment in the country. President Weah has not created a single job outside the government since he came into power. This is something we should be more concerned about regarding organizations that holding the government feet to the fire terrorist organization.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
All right, guys. Thank you. Mr. Gomi, again, anything to say before I go to them?
I wish you could leave Dwalu right there because it's important to come back to him.
Okay, Professor.
Mr. So.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Go ahead, Libro.
Okay, let him.
I need to step in here for a minute because I've allowed three of you to get away with a lot of stuff here tonight, and I need to bring you back to earth here. Mr. George said these were speaking about the COP. These were better driven. They lost the credibility, and the professor called the COP and the other people a terroristic organization. But here's what I want to say. First, let me address Mr. George. Mr. George, these people, when they come together, they are part of the grassroots of the CPP. They are not quite separating themselves from CPP. However, they also have an individual right to endorse or not to endorse. So let's give them that. Now, I don't agree with you calling them better driven. These are young people. Just imagine when you and I were young at that age. You won't, for me, you won't catch me talking about politics in Liberia. All I wanted to do, Mr. So, all I wanted to do, Mr. Josh, if you don't mind, conservative, please let a liberal express himself. All I wanted to do at that age was to go to Ijira. But here are these young people like Costa, sacrificing themselves. They becomes the messenger. Now, Costa, how old you think Costa? 30-something? When you were that age, what make you think you can make mistakes? But the interesting thing that I want people to understand, do not look at the messenger. Listen to the message. And this is what's happening, and our people are not getting. Let me now approach and then try to address the good professor, CDC professor. Mr. Professor, if you don't mind, let me remind you, this was a seen terrorist that flocked you guys some few months ago. Your president, Dr. George, held a hand of an individual to say this is a person that I want. These people you consider terrorists. You remember December 7? You remember June 7? You remember the demonstration? Thousands and thousands of people follow these people you consider terrorists. You guys do not belong in that white executive mansion because you are not truthful and you will be dislodged from that executive mansion. We will flock you because of statement like that. You don't believe in COP. You don't believe in these young people trying to organize themselves and fight for the Liberian people. You call them a terrorist. These are the people who were cooking in the sidewalk. And the police decide to use water gear to drive them up. You call them terrorists? These are the people, the Yeke Koluba, all of the officials. These people were fighting for the poor people of the Republic of Liberia. They are not terrorists. These are our freedom fighter. If you don't know that, Professor. CDC, tiny sedition. You're listening to me. Your time is over. You're done.
Okay. Here's an interesting thing. Hamas, the terrorist organization, from time to time win elections, right? In Palestine.
Oh my goodness. So
it's not surprising that terrorists, but let me finish with that. Dwalu, very interesting guy. I think he's a smart young man. Very interesting. He argues like this. He says that why can't I just hold people accountable? By that, he means that every government that comes in, there has to be an audit once the government is leaving. So like that, we have accountability in the country. That's fine. Very nice, wonderful idea. I agree. But then the same Dwalu comes up and he wants to refute the comments made by Mr. George that these young people are belly driven. And he justifies it by saying it's tough in the country. So then people should be controlled by the belly. Now, here's a man who has been coming after me time after time, talking about morality, talking about making a decision in the best interest of the country. Is that the best interest of the country when young people are driven by the belly?
Is there
you understand it?
Is there anything responsible potentially for which they'll be doing by belly?
Let me say this because
But that's the thing.
statement.
And another thing I wanted to come up, another last thing, Mr. George, I will come up. You see, look, here's the thing, Liberal Progressive. Look, if the CDC engaged in any action that restricted the free movement of people, that had a propensity to undermine the government of the economy of the country, and to undermine the security and safety of the country, it was fine to designate the CDC at that time as a terrorist organization and have them persecuted. It doesn't mean that because the CDC did it then, so that today we should allow it.
And why don't you give us, Professor, you're a layman. Why don't you give us some of the examples, terrorist example from these people that perhaps we might be able to be educated on?
You just provided one example where people are engaged in actions on the streets that has the propensity to have maybe proclivity for fire.
But Professor, you are one in the streets before. Are you strange to the process of people being in the streets?
Let me say this.
You understand it? What is that?
I said before I have Mr. Jackson here that I'll bring in. But what I'm asking here, people being in the street, are you strange to that? You are the author. You are the creator.
Doing what in the street? Doing what in the street? Do you know the spectre? Do you know what that could cause for potential investors?
Yeah, but,
oh my goodness, Professor. You mean because of investor, people should not demonstrate in the street?
When I say potential investors, I'm not talking about non-Liberia.
Okay,
I will not want to invest in a country wherein that when
so
people they can gather
Professor, here is the deal. Yeah. What you are doing in the street, don't you think you are driving investors away when the casket is supposed to be in funeral home, Samuel Striker, Moses, and you had it in the street? Don't you think that what kind of country am I going to invest in?
See, there's a mistake you guys are making. And one of the things I said to you before, when I joined the CDC, it was just on the eve of the anniversary of the murder of Shaki Kamara, right? On the CDC compound. And we were here putting resources together for that commemoration of the anniversary. And there were some people who didn't I would not call. And we said this to the leadership of CDC at that time. We put in our resources. Here's one thing we require of you guys. You need to get a permit, and the demonstration you do should not be violent, and it should respect the laws of the country. That's how I joined the CDC.
Okay, let's get Mr. George. Mr. George, thank you. Let me get Sam on, and then that's the last quarter for the night before we can go. Okay, Uncle Sam, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry for holding on. I wanted to make sure. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good evening to the panel, also to Alfonso. Let me just change the conversation a little bit. If the political, the opposition party, the way how they are playing their own games, I feel that they might fall prey, to their own game, to CDC. And it just played into the, the argument that Dualo is trying to make, and also, if I would partly agree, with the professor, if you look in the opposition party, CPP, if you look at the structure, some of them have already made a decision, as to who they want to vote for within the CPP. And that alone speaks a volume if they say they want to move forward. So if the leader, let's say for example, Benana Europe, wheresoever worker goes, he is there. Their spokesperson, Henry Costa, is profoundly that we endorse worker. If any other person come up to say, okay, I will go and support, Cummings, it becomes an issue. And there it begin to create some friction. Recently, if you listen to some of the comments, if you read some of the, some of the, Facebook pages, you can tell really that there will be some friction if they can manage that crisis.
You mean within the COP?
Within the COP and CPP.
CPP.
It might create an issue, that if they don't take time, NCDC might take opportunity to use it. Okay. And I just wanted for them to start watching that keenly, because the exchange between communist group and also the COP is not arguing well today. It might play, into the political game that other people want to come in, to benefit from it. And if we play the game of the professor that is CDC, if anybody want to make comment, they are welcome, but I just want to take my word back and let me see what people will say.
Okay, all right, let me go. All right, thank you so much. All right, we are out of time here. So here we are, Mr. Dan Dennis, president, board member, president of UNICO, right? United NIMAD Association. Okay, Amos George.
Yeah, let me just explain what I got it wrong. This is the problem. Professor referring to the COP as a terror organization. I mean, I disagree with it. These people are getting legitimate people to demonstrate in Liberia at the time. But let me take him back. CDC did burn tire in the street. They were not considered a terror organization. One of your members, Obe, the video is there. He smuggled samples of military uniform to Liberia. He said he gave it to the boss at CDC headquarters. And he said they were planning to assassinate Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It was George Weah who talked on it. He's on tape for that. Obe is right and he said. So if you see that is not a terror act, why you want to point to COP who at the time had a legitimate permit to demonstrate? They are not terror organizations. You want to designate them, but that is your view, but they are not. I would not go along with that line. CDC was a terror organization from what the
We're not hearing you, Pa George.
Because he's talking bad stuff.
Yeah. When I said Bella driven, I will still stand by my word. Because if you say because hard time so people can do anything in Liberia, then of course it is a wrong precedent we are setting for our children. You should stand for principles. If you cannot stand for principles, you got no value. So this argument people are making, there's nothing to do in Monrovia. So saying there's nothing to do in Monrovia, people just go and commit crime to live. Is that what you're saying? No. You should stand for something. If you want to be COP member, stand there with a tough time. Today, Jefferson County in jail because why they stood with the CDC party, regardless of what happened at the time. They stood, they didn't go jump behind Ellen Johnson Sirleaf then. So this argument is wrong. We should not encourage people to be jumping from political institutions from place to place. They will say, oh, because the times are high. It is wrong premise and we should not support it. Thank you. I'm leaving to go pick up my daughter.
Okay. You didn't fire at the Liberal. The Liberal almost indicted you, but I'll leave that for tomorrow.
No, but I was talking about the bad dream. I told the Liberal that it's a wrong concept to have that people because times are hard. People don't jump from
the Liberal said they are children. They are
children. We cannot continue to make the same mistake and come out. Oh, that children are children. Those are grown-up men. They are not boys again.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's it. And that's the problem that I have with this Liberal to tell people, adults, if they are children, then let them play video game. They shouldn't talk about national politics. They shouldn't talk about wanting state power. Yes, I like their courage, but I think this is what is missing, and I'm not sure why it is happening. Maybe you are one of the insider. You could try to work on that. These people have said it over and over. They need counsel. They need advisors. You know, once you are in the eyes of the public and you have that sort of political quest, you are fighting for something. You are fighting for your nation. That's a good thing, but it also comes with responsibility. And I've said this over and over as we're about to wrap out. In as much George Weah and the CDC-led government policy are so bad, which of course is not going to go well with the professor in many instances, but I'm also finding it difficult, the tone of the same very opposition, their faces, people that are in the vanguard to articulate with them, the lack of political tolerance, their inability to soften their tone, to win over people, to guarantee us, to reassure us. And they are acting like the same very CDC. And for you, the Liberal, to come here, they are young people, they are children, they should be making mistakes. These are the behavior that you guys created to get us in this place that we are. And you sit down here in your comfortable zone in Sacramento, and we see men and women who are talking politics about their country, who potentially want to contest for high-profile position, And you're telling me in here that they are children. Where if they are children, then they need to wear diapers. And we need people who are wearing pants with belt to talk about their country, because we want conversations of substance. Am I sounding a little bit right here this evening?
No, you're sounding ridiculous, Mr. So. Yeah, you're sounding ridiculous, to be honest with you. Because these people, let us agree, these are responsible people. I didn't say they were children, therefore they are not responsible. My point of reference to young people is the fact that there's some of them 25, 35, not close to 40 yet. Look at people like Henry Costa. Let's just take Henry Costa for an example.
So how old was
Mr. So you spoke for almost 5 minutes. I did not interrupt you, and I'm getting ready to make my lip review. Now you're gonna come in and try to interrupt. But of course, that's what you guys do. Donald Trump and the rest of the people, you don't let people speak. So that's fine. I understand that point. But here's the point. Let's go back to Costa. Let me just use Costa for an example, because he's a public figure, so anybody can use it. Anyway, let's use him as an example. He's a young man. His age, when I was his age, I was playing football, I was running all over the place, I was here and there. Not him. With him, every day he comes on air and speak about issues, whether you agree with him or not. They are national issues. And even if you don't agree with him, many Liberians listen to him. He speaks the minds of many Liberians, even if they don't agree with him. But people are anxious to listen to him. So from time to time, he's a young man, for Christ's sake. Let him make some mistake and let him do what he's supposed to do. Now, let me finish. I'm almost done. The point here is this. Mr. Costa is a messenger. He speaks the message for our people. The corrupt behavior, not just this government, but many other governments before this government. The corruption in Liberia is not only hurting the people in Liberia, but it also hurting the future of these same young people. So if Mr. Costa is speaking for the young people, for the future, let's give him the opportunity to be a human being.
Okay, before the professor comes in here, you are gradually putting your own foot in your mouth. You are giving the professor enough ammunition here with the same soundbite, with the same excuses. We just got elected. We are just 3 years. Give us some time. Give us time. We will recuperate. We are young people. We are young government. Look, it is so ridiculous and it is absurd for you to say those sort of things. Let me just tell you now, I had a privilege to interview Costa during the Helen Johnson survey. And like I said, I realized his courage, his motivation, his zeal, his determination to speak for the nation. But I'm saying he needs to make use of his talent, and people he needs as advisor, he needs a counsel, so that sort of leadership should don't come here and can't tell us they are young people 35 making babies and all of here, and you want to come tell me here they are something. They are not 16-year-old, they are not 17-year-old. When you become involved in national politics, then you must be able to try to, then you have become a full grown-up person. Professor, go ahead before we close up.
No, and I think you laid it out very well. You know, it's interesting. I understand his appreciation for Henry Costa, but I'm sure he's not. Mr. Toole, when you were 37 years old, you were not a college student. I'm sure your development was not delayed. You were a responsible man at 37. You were playing football, but you had a family to take care of, and so you didn't have the time to just get on the air and just make ridiculous comments about other people.
You're one-time coach, Kenton, Ohio.
He was what?
He was a coach.
That's good, yeah, but he was playing, but he was already a responsible man. He wasn't staying in college trying to get
his team never won a single game.
He wasn't trying to get his first degree. You know, when you are getting your first degree, you have a lot of energy. You want to practice some of the things you learn in your classrooms. So it's interesting that Mr. Costa is doing that. You know, we did that like 40 years ago. That's what we did. So, you know, it's very interesting. Look, let me put this thing on a serious note. Look, one of the mistakes we Liberians make is that we always say that this group did it then. Now they're saying that, look, if CDC did things that were not right, then it was wrong then, it is wrong even now. It's not a right thing to be impeding the free movement of people. It's not a right thing to express your dissatisfaction with government by getting in the street, lighting fires.
Yeah, but what happens? You did it, and it works for you, so the people try to emulate that as well.
Well, I don't know whether it worked for us. Because I don't know what it worked.
You have the executive branch of government.
Yeah, but I don't think that will work for us. I think CDC had to reinvent itself. CDC had to redesign itself in order to win this last election. And many of you guys may not know it.
I think I love the word I used, to redesign, maybe reconstruct itself.
There were so many different things that were done in preparation of getting CDC to win the elections. And a lot of those things, many people around don't know it. Okay, for example, you didn't even know I was a member of the CDC, and a lot of other people who didn't know who were behind the CDC. They didn't know the background work that was being done at the State Department level. They didn't know the background work that was being done at Capitol Hill. They didn't know any one of those things. And a lot of those things took place before this particular government was able to be elected in Liberia. So let's make that clear. CDC didn't go the same way they went in 2011
Okay.
or yeah. So it didn't happen that way. So let's be very careful with that. So let's be fair, guys. Look, it's unfortunate the way we practice politics in our country. And we see it every night when we come here, because people who would criticize you for speaking on behalf of the government will be the very same one who would suggest that it's okay for young people to move to be like monkey jumping from tree to tree. But then it is wrong for you to say, give us time. We need time to be able to do this thing. Or the government is doing this right. The government is doing that wrong. But Mr. So, I was shocked. You made a statement here, which I found to be very unfortunate. And, being our leader here, I think you might want to, think about that another time. You said the policies of the government, the policies of CDC government are bad. And, I felt like that's unfair, because this government has done more than any other government has done in the history of Liberia. This government is on the trajectory to move more people above the poverty line than any other government has done. This government is on pace to build more schools than any other government has done in the history of the Republic of Liberia, and from the money of taxpayers and not from donor funds. This government had made Liberian parents to go to sleep, without worrying to pay for the WASS fees for their children. This government has made tertiary education in the country free. So this government has continued to move Liberia outside of Monrovia, connecting regional capital cities with paved or improved roads. This government is in the process of turning our country to being one of the greatest agrarian nation in the whole of West Africa. So look, this government has done more than any other government has done. For you to say that the policy of this government has gotten us where we are today.
Well, I think that was a general statement, but some of the policies of the government are just they are troubling. So I fair to say that. Okay, guys. Yeah. So, Libra, what's your final closing statement?
Well, thank you very much. If I were in your position, I will not take it back. This government is an inept government. This government cannot function properly. This government have done nothing good for our people. This government is a corrupt government, and I'm surprised to hear the professor to say that he's one of those that were instrumental in bringing up this corrupt government. Having said that, welcome. Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Mr. So. What I want to say to the audience as well, let them tune in Friday. I will be doing my show on the project that I've just delivered, about $100 million worth of project work, and we're doing good. So thank you, Destiny, for bringing me on this evening, and we appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you, Professor, and thank you, Mr. Eamon George, as well.
I wish you have the time, Mr. So, to I think somewhere around the 28th at my junior high school, we're going to be having the career day. I don't know whether you have 30 minutes or so that we can connect you by video link.
In Liberia?
Yeah, with our students.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Tour, I'm talking about Mr. Tour, his project.
So, what is it you want me to do now?
Your project that you talk about, I would love for you to. We're having a career day somewhere around the 24th to the 28th of May. So maybe you can
speak. Why you keep hanging out with this tall man here?
Okay, well, whenever you're ready, just let me know. I'm always ready to help, give a helping hand.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, I think you and I have a similar discussion before, but that's something
right.
we can talk off the show.
All right, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, well, gentlemen, that does it this evening. The Liberal Progressive, good to have you back on here on the Liberia Public Radio, and I will see what we're going to do there. So, and this is what I want to say as we're about to leave. And that's what I find kind of troubling with these institutions, be it the ruling establishment and the opposition. Their messaging, just how their leaders' messages are now refined, unfortunately, that's how their supporters, because they are not doing anything enough to be convincing. CDC supporters take 90 minutes of your time on the on the opposition. Opposition people take 90 minutes of your time on the CDC, and we are not hearing the policy as to how their leaders or those people that they believe in so much they can do it differently. They can't tell us anything tangible. And then you have something told, come here, people are children, this and that. Then you give rise to the seditions to come and tell us we are just 2 years old. Give us chance. We're building schools. We're building roads. So this sort of political syndromes of this blame game, political correctness statements, hey, folks, you got to undo them. All right? Get to the point. Be convincing. And I said this before. I expect by this time that the CPP or the people that were smart, they will have an official spokesperson, be it in Europe or America, that will speak on national issues so that our friends, people here will listen to them that they mean business. But when you come and start insulting and cussing, this one going up with this one there, who cares? What I got to do with that? I have my own issue. All of us have our own but and conjunction. If you leave that and try to get into people's personal lives, in as much those people are going to be held accountable, but I don't think it is time here. And these are the two tough questions that I received here from the former government official who is monitoring here as well. I'm not sure that we're going to have the time to answer those two questions here, but it is quite fascinating. One, is the election in 2023 about moving to Liberia forward or witch hunting past leaders? And the continuations of that question, next time we're going to answer that. Or will the country give the Justice Ministry free hands to determine who and when a crime is prosecuted? This is a former government official talking. And the last one here, multi-party democracy demands primary. CPP does not have candidates as yet until the Election Commission declares the campaign open. So everyone can claim to support any leader of CPP for president until the group votes among itself. This is coming from the top government officials who is right there. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening. By God's will, at the same time. Libra, you say coming on Friday?
Yes, I will be on Friday to go a little bit deeper into my project. And then next week, I've already had a group of journalists in Liberia that have gone to do the video of the entire Dole community role to bring it so that I can try to look at it and see if there's any issues on it. And I'm they're also going on Ralphie Highway, and they're going to do a video of that, of the construction process, and we will go into it and see what are some of the things they're doing wrong, some of the things they're doing right from my own construction background and as an engineer. So the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be very busy in trying to talk about the two roles.
Okay, that does it. He still tries to get this professor foot in his mouth. That's all the Liberal is all doing. But anyway, he's always making good constructive criticisms and always doing that. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Time has catch up with us here this evening. To our viewers and followers and viewers, I want to thank you so much for your time sharing with us here. Please let us know, send up inbox, your feedback, comments, and some of the things that we want to talk. Again, any comments or views expressed on this network is not a view of the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio, not even our contributors, but we do facilitate this high call painful, unagreeable, and agreeable to conversation in the interest of Mama Liberia. Until then, have a pleasant evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.